guys, this is Arlene. I decided to do a video while I was creating my Wednesday Stamp Club card, and this is for an MFT challenge, and this is challenge number 13, and I'll put the sketch up right here. So what I decided to do was to use the Bo Bunny Timeless collection, or Timepiece collection. This is a new paper collection by Bo Bunny, just came out, and I'm going to be using these 3 sheets right here. You guys can see this is what the back looks like. I'm not sure which side I'm going to use yet, but I'm going to try to make a masculine card because I have a lot of non-masculine cards in my card stash. So far what I've done is I've picked out my paper, I've cut out a piece of the paper tray ink white cardstock, and I cut it down to 5.5 inches, or 5.5 inches this way, and this is 8.5 by 11, so when you fold it, it's 5.5 inches. And then I took a piece of paper tray ink craft cardstock. What I went ahead and did is I ran it through my Big Shot using my Sizzix Diamonds texture fade or embossing plate, and so you can see the diamonds on there, or I like to call them harlequin. So that's that. Now I'm going to go ahead, and I've already cut out a banner, and I actually did purchase this banner through Paper Tray Ink. I'm going to use this for my sentiment, and then I have my dynamics. Now I wanted to make this masculine, and on the sketch you'll see that it has a little heart, so I'm probably not going to use the heart. What I might end up doing is, because this is a timepiece collection, I might do a pocket watch. So I might end up using this die, and I might end up using some of these ornate pieces here. I'm not quite sure yet. So this is kind of my thought process, you guys. I picked out my paper, I got my card base done, now I have to figure out how to fill out the card. And I know I want to do a masculine card, and the paper collection is sort of, how do I want to say this? It's not really vintage. Let me just kind of move this out of the way so we can take a look at it. Sort of is. I mean, it's a little shabby when you look at it with the font, with the script, and all the different writings and such. So I'm going to go ahead and go through my stuff, and I will be right back. So I decided to cut up a small piece of paper to 4 by 5, and then I'm going to use my new Frisker's punch to create a border. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm not quite sure how I'm going to lay this out yet. Do this. We can see the clock there, which is really cool. And then there's going to be a strip here in the background, and I think I'm going to use the design paper to do that, and I think I'm going to use the keys. So I'm just going to cut the strip of this down. Okay, so to give my card a little bit of a shabby look, I'm going to distress the edges using my Tim Holtz paper distresser. It's really simple to use, and you'll see that a lot of my cards have the edges distressed this way. Now, so this is going to be my base, and I'm actually going to go in and I'm going to distress this a little bit, but let me just go ahead and lay this down first. So this is actually how it's going to lay. And I still have to trim these scallop borders down, but I'm going to have each of these peeking out on either side of my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down now. Okay. And then, so that's gonna actually layer and then on top of this. And I'm probably gonna, I'm probably gonna go in and ink the scallops a little bit so they pop a little bit. And I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to do some stitching on here. Probably not. I'm gonna try to keep this simple. And then this is gonna lay down on top like that. And I'm probably gonna put some dimensions on this, dimensionals. And you know what? I might even, I was gonna take a ribbon, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. Now, the sentiment that I'm gonna use, and I'm probably going to frame it. I'm not sure on what yet. Let's see, which one should I use? I think I'm gonna use this one here. It says, time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. Now I need to just go back, and I think what I'm gonna do is take my designer paper. I actually have some embellishments from the paper collection. So I'm thinking, instead of using the heart, because it's not as masculine, I'm probably going to add one of these trinkets here from the paper collection. Yeah, I'll probably use one of these trinkets here from the paper collection. And I'm thinking probably this one here. So let me go ahead and take that one out. So to tie in the harlequin to my card, I was thinking of putting in the harlequin, and this is from the bird cage, or the I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings stamp set from the Inspired by line. So I might borrow some of that harlequin there. And then again, I'm going to be using the Clearly Sentimental About Time. I'm going to use the time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. Now I just have to figure out how I'm going to place the sentiment on there. So I went ahead and cut out two shapes from the MFT Dynamics. Now this one is from the Layered Labels Dynamic set, and then this one here is from the Sweet Stack. And I like to mix them up because they actually fit nicely on each other. So don't necessarily have to use them with the set that it was sold with, which is really cool. So I took the designer paper and I just cut up some of these dynamics. Now I'm going to stamp on this. I'm going to stamp the time is the most valuable thing a man can spend. So let me just grab my acrylic block. Sorry, my desk is a mess here. I'm trying to think how I'm going to incorporate the harlequins on there. Give me 1 second, you guys. I'm still thinking. I really want this harlequin shape, so I am going to stamp it onto the base of the frame that I'm using here for my sentiment. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my antique linen distress ink because it's a nice light color and it won't contrast. It'll just lightly contrast against, if you see the color is very similar. So it'll just put a really light texture onto the shape there so it's not flat. I want a little bit of dimension or texture. So you see how it gives it a little bit of texture so it's not so flat. Now what I'm going to do is take my sentiment from Clearly Sentimental About Time. Let's do this. And then I'm going to take my, let's use brush corduroy. I'll use my brush corduroy distress ink. And that's what I'm going to use to stamp my sentiment. There is my sentiment. Now what I'm going to do is distress the edges a little bit. So these two pieces are going to layer on top of each other. Okay, so that's pretty much done. Now I'm going to just kind of remove everything here, and I want to distress this piece just a little bit. Now what I want to do is, because it has the embossing on there, and I'm working on a flat surface here, I just want to make sure this is flat a little bit. I just want to pick up the harlequins so they pop up a little bit more. So I'm going to take my distress pad and I'm just going to directly rub on top of my paper. And as you can see, the harlequins or the diamond shapes are just starting to pop out. And I really love this technique. So it's not so faded in the background. I want it to stand out a little bit. And this will only work if you're working on a flat surface, so make sure the area you're working on is flat. And see how it picks up the edges also, so it gives it a distressed look. Okay, and that was with Vintage Photo, distressing. Okay, now I'm trying to determine whether or not I want to distress the edges of my base. And actually, you know what, I changed my mind. I'm going to go get craft paper as my base. I'll be right back. Okay, so we have my craft base. And I'm going to take the piece that I distressed, and I'm going to be laying that directly down onto my craft base. Now, as you could tell, you could see how it contrasts because I edged it so it doesn't look too flat. Kind of pops off the page a little bit. I like how that works out. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere that down. And this is going to be going down here, and I changed my mind. I do want to distress the edges of this because I think it just needs color. And I will go ahead and lay that piece down. You know, I'm probably going to lay it flat. So in order to do that, I can either use my sticker machine, but I am just going to use my Tombow Mono Adhesive or Mono Aqua. And the way that I use this is I just take the big end, squeeze a little bit, and then just kind of rub it on here. Okay, and then I take the fine tip end and I try to get that on the edges. Cool thing about the Tombow, the difference between using this and my favorite choice, which is the quick dry adhesive, is this adhesive gives you an opportunity to move your object around a little bit before it becomes permanent. With the quick dry, you don't have that much of an opportunity to do that because it dries pretty fast. Okay guys, so my card evolved a little bit, and I'm going to put the sketch up again right now. So this is what came of my time working on this card, and it's a little bit different from what I had originally planned. But let me go ahead and talk through it. So I did keep the harlequin background, which I really like the way that that came out, and so that's my background. I kept the punch out from my Frisker's Punch, and also the sentiment on my sweet labels, sweet stack die, as well as on the layered labels. And then here's both these sentiments are from the Clearly Sentimental About Time stamp set. And then I decided to put on a Tim Holtz clock because it's talking about time. We got a little clock on the design paper, so I tied in a clock face by Tim Holtz from his Ideology line. And then I also just added a Tim Holtz paper clip or hinge clip, I think it's called a hinge clip, on the end there to add a little bit of interest. And then obviously I had to add some of my bling, so that's like Recollections bling. And so as you see on the bottom here, if you remember, we layered on the small scallop border on the design paper. So following the sketch, the layers are pretty much following the sketch. And then on the inside of my card, I brought in the Harlequin again, and this is from the Inspired by Caged Bird stamp set. As you can see, I stamped it on here using the antique linen, which is the same ink that I used on the front here to give it a really light look, because I don't want it to stand out too much. I just wanted to create a little bit of texture in the background. And then I used my Frisker's punch again to punch this out. And then here I'm using the label die as part of the Layered Labels die set. And then I used the this Dynamics here, and this is from the Sweet Stack. It says time does not change us, it just unfolds us, and that's also from the Clearly Sentimental About Time stamp set. And then I put in more Recollections bling, and here's that trinket that I took from the Bo Bunny accessories set that goes with the Timepiece collection. So that's my card for the Wednesday Stamp Club Challenge number 13. Hope you guys like it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.